didn't see you there. I was looking for Princess Tiana's secret beignet recipe in the Big Book of Secrets, but it's not in there. And well, I think I have a guess as to where it might be. On this episode, we're going to hunt to find Tiana's secret beignet recipe. We're going to be going over how to make gorgeous, fluffy beignets and how they compare to the ones at the theme park. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to Pastry Fundamentals to help us get to that first 1,000 subscribers.
The frogs are right there. Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Basically the old Splash Mountain revamped. The only thing that can make this better is having her beignets in real life, and we're about to go get them. $7, 3 beignets. I bet we can make more at home for less money. Evidence of the last beignet feasting.
Warm, fluffy beignets in a nostalgic location. Look how puffy they are, coated in powdered sugar and drizzled in honey.
We're gonna inspect these first. I noticed there's a slight bubbling happening on the outside of the dough. That's all those little yeast bubbles. There's got to be a hint of something in this recipe. I'm seeing nutmeg maybe. Very thin shell for that frying. You can see it's fried maybe only for 3 to 4 minutes. I mean, the cell structure in there clearly says it is a yeast-based dough. My heart is on the bayou, singing to the frogs. But the real question is, where's your secret recipe? I promise this mess wasn't just me. There were like 4 other culprits before me. I promise. Tiana's delivery truck. I think we're getting closer to that recipe. Celebrating her beignets. Come with me back into the kitchen as we bake it.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
We typed the recipe up for you so you could easily read it, although we can't turn it around for the back. Sorry. Now that we have our ingredients written down, I'm gonna just go over her directions really quick. Okay, in a medium-sized bowl. Continue on the back. We can't flip the card. It looks like you'll need a real hand in this recipe. So I've read over her recipe and I rewrote it because, just to be clear, hard writing things down the first time. Let's see how this goes. All right, so got my pot of frying oil going on. And now, why do we use vegetable oil? It's a neutral, palatable oil. So you don't want to be using something like sesame oil because you get the sesame flavor. Filling it up about 60% of the way. Putting the lid on, I'd suggest turning your stove to a low-medium heat, which is about a 3. Frying oil is always at 365 degrees Fahrenheit, so just get a probe thermometer that looks something like this, keep it on Fahrenheit, and just probe your oil every now and then to make sure you're at the correct frying temperature. I'm gonna make a ×2 recipe of Tiana's. I'm gonna make a ×2 recipe of Tiana's beignets. Okay, that looks to be about 2 cups. I'm not sure if she compacts her flour. This is why it's important to scale a recipe in grams. Some people punch that, flour in. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just say that that's 2 cups. There is aerated pockets in there. This is what they mean when they say like compact the flour. I'm gonna assume that Tiana in the bayou you know, flapper dress, 1920s era. She is scooping away and just doing it by heart and feeling and getting it done. All right, now let's scale the sugar. Again, we want to be as accurate as possible, so we always scale ingredients separately. And then if she asks to combine all dry together, we will do that. We're just going to scale them separately for the accuracy of getting the recipe right. And look, it's right on that line. 2/3 cup. We call that the straight dough method in pastry. When you put all the dry together and all the wet together and then you mix them, it's called the straight dough method. Let's do baking powder next. So we need 4 TSP. And she is asking for 2 a recipe, but we're doing times 2, so 4 TSP. So I just need 1 TSP of baking soda because again, I'm making a times 2 recipe. Baking soda reacts with buttermilk and eggs. That is the secret to getting the chemical reaction of baking soda. There is acid in buttermilk, there is acid in eggs. It causes a chemical reaction when heat is added. So I need 1 TSP of salt. And last but not least, we need to do nutmeg. We have the whole nut. As a squirrel would say, nuts are best when they are fresh. So we're gonna grind fresh, beautiful nutmeg. Nutmeg, it's the center of mace. There's a shell on top of it, then there's like a beautiful red looking flour pulp thing, and that's known as mace. Here we go. I'm just gonna use a microplane, one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. Ooh, my thumb is getting a workout. I'm gonna have to grind a lot of nutmeg at this point. It's not even registering on the scale. And grinding it fresh is gonna make those beignets poppin'. No wonder they're famous. So I need 2 beaten eggs. I recently bought these from a local chicken farmer. She just reuses cartons that we bring her. Beat the bejesus. She said beaten egg, so go to town, beat that egg, beat that egg. Beat that crazy voodoo man that turned you into a frog. I'm not a frog. Okay, I'm tired. I think they're beaten. So we need 2 cups of buttermilk for this recipe to be accurate. So let's tare the scale. Tare. And then 2 cups of buttermilk for a times 2 recipe. Oh, let's give this buttermilk a little shaking. Oh, sometimes buttermilk not separates, but like the fat rises to the top. It's like playing the trombone, you know? Boop-a-doop. I thought we were in New Orleans, you know? You gotta play the trombone. It looks like a trombone. I mean,
I'm gonna put that in the opening montage.
We have our 2 cups of shaken buttermilk. We need water, and it calls for 2/3 cup of water. 2/3 cup, yeah, I was waiting for it to stop wiggling. All right. Homemade vanilla extract. We will make a separate video about this, but not right now. All right, we're going for 1 teaspoon. We have scaled everything, folks. We are at the 1 bowl wet, 1 bowl dry. You know what needs to come next, right? A sifting party. Sifting party. Sifting party. When you do this in production, it really hurts your arm. Always want to sift your dry. That's because your dry can absorb humidity in the air. We're just gonna go ahead and whisk up all of our wet ingredients so they're homogeneous. So I'm gonna take all my dry ingredients and I'm gonna dump them into a very large bowl. I don't think in the 1920s, 1930s era they had KitchenAid. So we're gonna dump this into a big bowl. We're gonna get our favorite tool for the kitchen, our bench scraper, or better known as a bowl scraper. Mwah, my favorite tool in the kitchen. We're gonna make a well in the center, and in that well, we're gonna pour all of our liquid. You can take your bowl scraper, scrape your bowl with it. Look how it slightly bends to the bowl shape, which is why it's called a bowl scraper. And then we're just gonna use our bowl scraper to start scraping the edge of this bowl and fold towards the well, while rotating the bowl with our left hand. So our left hand grabs towards our tummy, pushes away from our tummy, while your right hand folds towards you while scraping the edge of the bowl. Okay, we're gonna do those two movements at the same time while we're mixing the dough. All right, see how the dough is starting to look chunky, like cottage cheese. We're not being really rough with the dough. We're just letting the moisture content absorb in there. Beautiful cell structure starting to form. So I'm just scooping down and out, down and out. So we did the center of the bowl out. Now we're gonna go back to the outside of the bowl in. Now on her recipe, she did say this is a fairly wet dough. We will need flour, but the more you mix it, the tighter the gluten structure will get, giving a wet dough structure. Now this dough does seem to be a little too wet to roll out, and I have done a decent job of mixing it, and I don't want to over mix it either. So we're gonna go ahead and add 1/3 cup in here. It's saying that there's a 1/4 cup for dusting and a 1/4 cup. So I have 2 1/4 cups to work with, which is a 1/2 cup. Let's just put a 1/4 cup in and see if that helps tighten the dough. Here we go. Just add a little bit more flour until we get the consistency we're looking for. Oh yeah, already helping, already helping. You can see that webbing starting to take hold. We're gonna go ahead and just finish mixing this till some gluten forms. I'm gonna get it on a sheet pan with 2 silpats and get it in the cooler for that 15-minute nap. I've made beignets probably 3 times in the resort, but definitely was never this loose. So I added the last 1/4 cup that I had to work with, and it's a much better consistency. So you can see the gluten structure has a bit more webbing now. Let's just lift up the dough ball. See that structure? It's not, like, it's still wet, right? It's still wet, but like it has some hold to it. So having your recipe in grams is so important, especially if you want to do this as a full-time professional career. So we just need a sheet pan with a silpat. See, I could join a New Orleans band. And then we're gonna dump the dough out. Try to dump this sucker out as evenly as possible. And she said dust more flour on top before leveling it out to an estimated 1/2 inch. But you see, look how it holds its structure. Already is a great sign. So we need 1/2 inch thickness, and we need squares. So look, I'm just gonna take a little bit of flour and dust my hands, and I'm just gonna kind of like squish it up to a square shape. So it's kind of like squishing the dough together and then being like, hello, come down here to New Orleans. No, gluten, well, it's sticky, it's webbed, and it always needs a nap. So let's go in the cooler for 15 to 20 minutes, cut and fry. Who's a good little beignet? You are. Our beignets have been chilling for about 35 minutes now. You can see that some of the flour has absorbed into the dough while it's been resting, completely normal. And we're just gonna go ahead and flip it out of the pan. And then we're gonna redust this silpat for the final finished cut. Chill in the refrigerator overnight, and you can fry these in the morning. There's no reason why you can't prep this a day in advance. Just cut the squares, get them ready and prepped for frying, and then just leave them in the cooler overnight and fry them in the morning for breakfast. This is what's gonna be our fry test. So I'm just gonna do 1. So look, I'm at 360. I'm just gonna see how this goes, right? If we need to fold in more flour, we're gonna fold in more flour, but we're just gonna drop that in And then again, that is our test beignet. Let's just see, we're following Tiana's recipe. We want to do her justice. We don't want to adjust her recipe too much. It's still very wet and sticky. I'm not super happy with it yet. Dust a little bit more flour. I'm gonna just do a little tri-fold here. So a third of the way in, a third of the way in. Okay. They don't look as pretty as the ones we got from Disney, you know. They look super preggers. They got like this little pregnant belly thing going on. I'm hoping my next round is gonna come out a little bit better. That's what baking's all about. Pregnant belly. They also feel kind of heavy and dense. Let me try flatten these out a little bit more than what Tiana's recipe is asking for. This is about a 1/4 inch thick. Let's just see if that works better. Sweet friends, it looks like it's not a 1/2 inch. It looks to be about 2 millimeter thickness or 1/4 inch. And those are much more pillowy. Look at that. Oh yeah, look at that puffing up like a little pillow. Doesn't your tummy want to take a nap with that? The whole point is to not overwork the dough. So again, I'm doing a re-roll. These might end up being tighter. See, I'm using the Silpat to move the dough back and forth, which is really helpful. Let's do this second rollout. I think these are gonna be perfect, honestly, this second rollout. For some reason, I think the structure's better on them. I went to 4 different grocery stores in order to find the original Café du Monde coffee with chicory. Now, chicory is basically a root that's roasted. Chicory is also known as a lettuce leaf, but they take the roots and they roast it, and it's a very similar flavor to coffee. This is what's known as a pour over coffee. We're not using a coffee machine. We're doing the good old fashioned old school method here. I found this for $7.99 a can at my local Asian store. Always relying on my local Asian store for all those niche finds. Absolutely love this shaker. It's one of those refillable shakers, so I'm just gonna load my powdered sugar. This is the same one that they used at Disney. And then oh, it's so fun. I love this thing so much. And then of course, I have some raw honey, golden wildflower. Turn the oven on to 375. Turn the oven off, use residual heat while you're continuously frying, and they'll all stay warm. Who's ready? I'm ready! I'm ready. It's my favorite part. Look at that. From scratch, Tiana's real recipe from the ride. We're gonna drizzle this with honey and take a bite and see how they turned out. Just like they do in the movie. Just gonna drizzle that sucker on. It's so warm, it's like dripping off. I have my beignets. My Café du Monde is ready. And look at the cell structure. It's definitely a little bit more dense than I would have liked.
Doing someone else's recipe for the first time is always challenging, and not to mention it was in cups, teaspoons, and tablespoons, which can make making a recipe inaccurate. I'll need to practice this recipe a couple more times to get it just as the theme park did, and I probably slightly overmixed it. Either way, they're delicious, they're beignets, and it's Tiana's recipe.
This is just a fun project to do at home with your family or your children who really want to make Tiana's recipe. And look, we got this recipe in a line of a ride. Like, I would have to work on this recipe probably 3 more times to get it to be a really authentic beignet recipe, one that I would compete with Café du Monde, who's been doing this for like 120 years. And I mean, there is good cell structure going on. It smells like the one at Magic Kingdom. I'm gonna eat a couple more of these, and this coffee is gonna prevent me from taking a nap.
I'm taking a picture.
Ready? No, I'm just waiting for you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Pastry Fundamentals. It has been a learning curve. It has been an adventure to find a recipe. Most of all, it has been absolutely delicious. And as always, follow for more pastry fun.